thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. Download the app today.
This is Up for a Chat with your hosts, Cyndi O'Meara and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And I'm Kim Morrison. And this week, what a delight to have an exceptional soul all the way from America, the amazing Mark Katz. Now, this special soul became the first dating coach in the world in 2003, and he has continued to help smart, successful women create lasting love. He's the author of 4 books. He has a Love You podcast with over 2 million downloads, and he's been featured in hundreds of media outlets, which we are delighted to say now extends to Up for a Chat. Welcome to the show, gorgeous Evan.
I'm already feeling the vibe of you two. I'm just excited to be in your presence and have a great conversation.
Well, we're pretty pumped to have a love guru on the show. Maybe, Evan, you could take us back on a little walk. Like, how on earth did you end up becoming this amazing guru in the field of love? What took you down this path, and why is it so important to you?
I think that most people who go into helping professions went into them because there was something that was missing or that they really needed to explore themselves. And through the path of their own exploration, if I asked you about your journey, there'd probably be an adjacent backstory. So I have always been the guy who wanted to find love, wanted to be like his dad, wanted to be the little league football coach. I always wanted that domestic bliss. And when I moved to LA in my early 20s, I was a screenwriter. I came here with a dream. I wanted to write for Friends because someone got to do that in 1994. And I had an agent and I had a manager and I had meetings at every studio and network. And you already said you saw the picture of me and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I came really, really close to success. I just didn't get over the hump to achieve it. So when I turned 30, I was like, I'm not going to be the 40-year-old guy trying to sell a screenplay. I have to figure out something else to do. And I went to film school so I could be a professor. And while I was putting myself through film school, my job was answering phones at an online dating company, getting yelled at by strangers. I'm not temperamentally suited to getting yelled at by strangers, but that was my job when I was 30. And after about a year of it, I said, oh my God, I got to write a book about this. And so I wrote a book about online dating in 2003 called I Can't Believe I'm Buying This Book, A Common Sense Guide to Successful Internet Dating. And it was at the time before everybody was admitting that they dated online. It was an embarrassing thing. And so I went from unemployed, depressed screenwriter to the dating guy when no one in the world had declared themselves the dating guy. So my book led to me writing people's online dating profiles, a company I still have called eCyrano.com. And then people would say, oh my God, I'm getting all this attention online with my new profile because I was just a writer. I didn't know how to do anything else. Could you help me flirt? I said, yeah, you don't know how to flirt? Sure, let's log into Match.com and I'll show you how to flirt. That was 20 years ago. So over the years, I've developed protocols and systems to meet my clients where they're at. And in that time, I became the person I wanted to be. Happily married, 2 kids, a profession, helping women, giving back, getting my reward is wedding photos and baby pictures. So I've been extremely fortunate to turn lemons into lemonade.
It sounds amazing. Absolutely amazing. So there's a protocol and a system in the dating world.
I think when people think about it, almost anything else in the world, we think dating is different than everything in the world. Sure. But if we just realize that dating is a skill set like any other, if you were struggling with weight for 30 years and all the information you found online, you couldn't break through, you might hire a personal trainer and dietitian to tell you, okay, today is back and buys and tomorrow is chest and tries, and you need to drink 9 glasses of water each day, and you should probably cut out carbs, especially after 6, and might want to try some more leafy greens and fewer starches. And It's just a system. It's not a particularly controversial system, but people need structure because left to our own devices, we repeat all the patterns that we learned from our broken families when we were kids.
Wow.
Well, I'm curious to know, and this is just jumping straight in. I'm curious to know, you've been doing this for over 20 years. We have seen from dating where we'd usually meet in a pub or at a party or through a mutual friend, and now we swipe left or right. You'll have to forgive Cyndi and I because we've never done the swiping left or right. So
No, we
we might be a little ignorant in that area. But what has been the biggest shift that you've seen that's enabled people to feel that dating online is as important or maybe more important than what we've ever known in the past? Is that a truth?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I don't think it's necessarily an either or. Um, I'm, probably similar-ish. I'm 50. I'm 52. So I wasn't swiping when I met my wife. I was dating online prolifically, but it was old school Match.com written profile. It wasn't just photos and texting. So the old world still exists and we still prefer it. The problem is we are isolated. We work remotely. We are stuck on our cell phones. We have very small insular communities. Certainly, the older you get, suddenly a lot of your friends are married. You live in the suburbs. It's just hard to meet people in real life. So while I'm very much pro real life, it would be foolish to be anti online dating because online dating is a tool. It would be like someone saying, I'm unemployed. I refuse to go on LinkedIn to find a job. I don't believe in it. I refuse to do it. I just want the job fairy to come down the chimney. And that's unfortunately not how it works. You have to leverage technology however you can. So there's absolutely a skill set to this to know how to use it right. And 40% of all marriages start online now. So to me, you could avoid it if you like, but you're better off learning how to master it.
Well, Evan, I'm a marriage celebrant and have been for 20 years. Love is one of my favorite topics. I love love. Cyndi's had the privilege of marrying a couple of people in America. We both love the ritual and I guess, the protocol of love.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter met her partner, and I dare say they'll marry online. Many couples that I marry, when I ask how they met, it's becoming more and more I met online. What is your viewpoint statistically? Do marriages through Match.com or swiping left or right or meeting online have a higher success rate, in your opinion, than those who met maybe through the old, outdated, ritualistic way?
I'm enjoying your questions. I don't want to spread any false information. And the problem is you could Google anything and find evidence of whatever you want to believe. So I do remember statistics that said online dating relationships are stronger, but I wouldn't vouch for them. To me, online dating is a tool to meet people that you would not otherwise meet through your normal social circles. That's all. It is an opportunity because real life, as you know, I'm a 52-year-old guy. I got 3 single guy friends who've never gotten married before. Right? Real life has not led them to love. If they are not dating online, I think that they're missing a tremendous opportunity to expand their social circle. Right? Real life, the first thing you figure out is whether you have chemistry. Right? It doesn't mean that person's a good person. It doesn't mean you're compatible. It doesn't mean much of anything. Right? So we've just reversed the order. Now we look online. We don't know anything. We see a photo. We do a couple texts. It's just an avenue to create opportunities. So I try to provide structure for women who struggle with this process to show women how to market themselves, how to create the ability to date online for a half hour a day, get 1 date a week, and more importantly, learn how to be a better date and discern who's compatible for you. Because once again, left to our own devices, what we're attracted to and what's good for us are not exactly the same thing.
How does that work? What we're attracted to and what's good for us is not the same thing. I'm just trying to work that last statement out.
I'll go back to the health piece. You know what food I enjoy the most? Steak and ice cream. If I eat steak and ice cream every meal, I'd be dead before I'm 55. And if I went to a doctor and I said, Doctor, I really like steak and ice cream, and he said, you know what, you might want to pivot on your diet. That's why you're coming to me with your 300 pounds and your four chins. You might need to do something different. I'll say, Doctor, but that's what I like the most. Are you telling me I must eat rice cakes and kale and nothing else? And the doctor will say, I said nothing about rice cakes and kale. I only said that steak and ice cream is not a good long-term diet. I'm just the doctor who tells people what they're already experiencing. If you are 55 and you keep on going out with emotionally unavailable men who are tall or cute or rich or charismatic, and none of them have ever treated you the way you deserve to be treated, you too are addicted to steak and ice cream, and you need to find a healthier diet.
Okay. This is just throwing so many questions in the air. I get that from my personal experience and understanding, and I've got no science to back this, Evan, but in my humble opinion, as an aromatherapist, yes, there's the visual chemistry, but what locks us in when the DNA gets to talk is when we nuzzle in or we smell or we kiss or in that very close proximity of another human.
Okay.
And in a way, unconsciously, the DNA is talking whether or not we'd make great babies.
Okay.
Now, I'm curious to know if we do it back to front and we look at the visual and we see if there's chemistry through our methodology of communication, does that outshine the unconscious spoken part of dating, or does that come once we meet face to face?
I think this is all sort of a
Mosh pit.
both and approach. I think anytime you're approaching things from one very narrow modality, you're missing something larger. So I'm not the first person to give advice about pheromones or DNA. The way I could usually tell whether a relationship is working is by listening to a woman tell me how she feels. Right. And you'd be astonished that the more sensitive and intuitive sex does a remarkable job of ignoring her own feelings. Like a stunning head-splitting version of, hi, Jessica, my name is Evan. I'll be your dating coach for this evening. Tell me more about your marriage. Evan, I met him when I was 25. It was love at first sight. I knew he was my soulmate. We stayed together for 25 years. When did you know something was wrong? 6 months in. 6 months in, he got angry at me and he was really dismissive of my opinion and he made me feel really small. But there was so much inertia and there was so much love, and we declared our love that we decided to get married, then produce 2 children. But the entire time I was anxious. I couldn't let down my guard. I couldn't be myself. I didn't feel seen. But I had this guy and we had this family and we had this house and we had this lifestyle. And I was told you got to stick around. And all this was a result of ignoring her feelings of being unsafe 6 months into the relationship. So nobody needs to be a dating expert to understand if you're in a relationship and your default setting is anxiety, I can't relax. I can't let down my guard. I don't feel safe. I don't feel heard. I don't feel understood. I'm not sure what the purpose of the relationship is, and I don't care how much great sex you have. So that's the thing, is in a good relationship, sex is the icing on a cake. In a bad relationship, it's the cake itself. So we really want to help people dial into what a good, healthy relationship feels like. And a lot of people don't have a history with that. They didn't witness it growing up. And subsequently, they made choices with men that only mirror what they observed growing up. Mom was a narcissist. Dad was distant and emotionally unavailable. I spent all my time trying to win his love. And I'm used to being in a relationship where I don't feel like I'm getting as much as I give. These are all tropes that have been said a million times. So if we take all this dating relationship gobbledygook out of it, ask yourself, are you in a relationship where you feel safe, heard, and understood, and loved unconditionally the way you love your kids? If the answer is no, there's a good chance you need some dating and relationship coaching.
I actually have a question for you. Now, this is it's not hypothetical. It's actually somebody that I know. So successful in every way, like They have done well in their career, they've done well in their health, they've done well in everything. They're in their 40s, they're gorgeous, stunning, and never been married and never had a good relationship, but are very keen for love, keen. And I don't know the history of her other relationships. So I did a manifesting tour and she was on it. And she had everything.
Right.
And I went, well, what do you do for someone like that? Okay, I'm her, let's say. Well, I'm coming to you. I've got my hand up. I really want a relationship. I don't know what to do, how to get it,
Right. So, Cyndi, thank you for bringing this to my attention. These are my clients, smart, strong, successful women who have everything but a partner, right? And again, I don't want to touch anything that I'm not an expert in. So I'm not going to touch the law of attraction. I'm not going to touch manifesting. I can say also in the same breath that you can make a vision board, you could think positive thoughts, but if you don't go on any dates, it would be really hard to find love. And there's a lot of people who are keen on relationships who don't date. And I couldn't say whether that's her. She might have been on 300 dates herself. It took me 300 dates to find love. So I am very willing to take ownership of the fact that my expertise is a hard one. It is not one where I'm on some sort of pedestal. I've absolutely been through this journey, right? That most of my women clients have gone through. And so there's absolutely a path. It is not that mysterious. It is like going to a doctor and you Googled all of your things and you went on MD and you think you have a really rare disease. I'm such a great catch, doctor. Why am I still alone? And the doctor says, I see this every day. This is not a rare disease. There's nothing unusual about your friend. It's that she is blind the way we're all blind to our patterns, right? And she needs someone from the outside to help her course correct and navigate. And that's probably what helping professions do, whatever your helping profession is. Mine is just a very specific field of dating and relationships, but you guys are in helping professions as well.
Well, let's look at the point of view, though, that someone like this woman, smart, as Cyndi said, all of the boxes ticked.
Right.
She then attempts or looks into online dating and comes up against someone very fake or someone who's not who they say they are.
Next.
Yeah. Okay. So is it a case of, do you help women realize that's not their problem? That's just you got to kiss a few, frogs before you find your prince kind of thing? Is that the whole point of these frogs, should we say, toads that are online that don't have a good intention?
Let's say a whole bunch of things. We're going to go really, really big. I'm glad there's the video because I do a lot of gesticulating. I think that's the New York part. So let's just say a few things are true. And I don't even think they're arguable. Love is not a meritocracy. You don't succeed in love because you're pretty. You don't succeed in love because you're smart. You don't succeed in love because you're nice. It's helpful, but in and of itself, being a great catch doesn't mean you're going to find love. Number one. Number two, if we could grant that women's experience is the experience we should be listening to, right? I'm not mansplaining women. I literally listen to women for 4 hours a day. I'm just echoing back what I hear. Let's just say that 90% of men, and it's extraordinarily high number. Let's say that whatever you're experiencing is correct. 90% of men are incapable of being good life partners, to be able to check all the boxes, to be a high-value man who's worthy of lifetime commitment from you. So let's validate that claim. It's not that there's a billion guys out there. There's actually a small lane of guys, but the lane does exist. Does that sound true to you guys? Okay. So Love is not a meritocracy. 90% of men are out there. They don't know that they're time wasters or narcissists or selfish or talk. They are just out there pursuing their own selfish means. The good news is they can be identified relatively quickly. You're not going to start dating Donald Trump and discover after 3 years, oh my God, he's a psychopath. You'll figure it out in the first few weeks. So these guys do not lurk. They reveal themselves relatively quickly. My job is to get people dating and dating online, theoretically to go on one date a week, to market yourself, right? Profile, photos, flirting technique, texting, boundaries, communication, sex, humor. Show people how the skill of dating so that they attract more high quality men and can identify and repel the wrong men quicker so they don't spend 25 years trying to fix him. And my central metaphor of Love You is you are the CEO of your love life. This is for the smart, strong, successful women. You are the CEO of your love life. Men are interns applying for a job with you. And if you give the intern a month and it's clear he's not a good fit for the job, you let him go and you fire up another intern, and there's always another intern. And so through that methodology, my belief is that there's nothing wrong with your friends who are great catches in your mind. I don't think they're fundamentally flawed. I think they have broken man pickers. Their GPS doesn't work. And that great catch could spend 60 years dating her way, but if she has a broken GPS, she's never going to get to her destination. I'm her GPS because she can't trust hers after 100 dates or 45 years. Okay, something's not working. I don't know what it is. I'm too close to see it. Maybe an objective third party could help guide me to the thing that I know I desperately want, but I can't seem to find.
It's an interesting thing because there's lots of different TV shows on. I mean, many years ago, there was things like The Perfect Match where you'd be behind, you never got to see the person, but you'd hear them. And it was based on, I guess, an auditory kind of thing or a feel or a vibe. Now there's a show called Naked Attraction. No, Naked Attraction, where it's an English show that I've seen where you get to see 6 prospects naked from the knees up to the knees. And then the next one is you actually get to see everything. And then the third one is the top. And by the end, you've got 2 prospects that you then go out on a date. And the whole philosophy, my understanding of it, is that you've seen each other naked. You've seen each other in a very vulnerable, I guess, situation. And now you get to know each other. Is that a viable protocol in your opinion?
Absolutely fucking not.
I love it. I knew you were going to say that.
So listen, I live in Hollywood. It's my background is Hollywood. Every few years, someone reaches out to me and, hey, do you want to do a show? And I tell them what I do, and we go deeper. And the only show that anybody wants is a gimmick. And if it's a gimmick, it's a dumb idea. The Bachelor is a dumb idea. Naked and Afraid is a dumb idea. Finding Love in 30 days or 5 minutes or Blindfolded is a dumb idea. They're setting people up for great television, but it's like throwing a dart in the dark. It's not a way to choose someone. The way to choose someone is much more methodical. And there are some people who got lucky, people in their 20s who landed in the right space and they grew together with their partner over time. But if you check out statistics, 75% of people who get married before the age of 25 end up getting divorced because there's so much change that happens in that juncture of your life. So you can't expect anybody to be able to make a lifelong decision at that point. So my clients are not 25-year-olds. My clients are usually women over 40, college educated, 6-figure earners, decent amount of life experience, banging their head against the wall, too close to it to figure out what they're doing wrong. And they need a mirror held up to them. They just can't do it themselves. Right? But there's nothing wrong with them. We don't give people makeovers. We don't give them personality ectomies. We don't try to change an introvert to an extrovert or someone who's shy into some sort of seductress. We're really taking what you have and saying, okay, how do we make the best of who you are and find a compatible partner that you, left to your own devices, might overlook. You might not even know he's there. Because what you're looking for is a man over 6 feet tall. And that's the thing that you think is really important because you're 5'8". Well, only 14% of men are 6 feet tall. You don't need that. You might find that attractive, but you don't need that. I make $400,000 a year. I need a man who makes $401,000 a year. No, you don't. You don't need a guy who's richer than you. You need a guy who can support himself. He's not a drain on your finances. He's not a leech. He's not a loser. He's not living on the streets. He's not taking any. He's a high school English teacher and soccer coach. He's doing fine for himself. Both partners don't need to be business powerhouses. When you find a guy who makes $500,000 a year, does he say, I need a woman who makes 501,000? No. So women need to actually date somewhat more like men, right? Based on how someone makes you feel. And how someone makes you feel, right? With character and kindness and consistency and communication and commitment, which are the things that determine whether couples are happy. Can you tell character, kindness, consistency, communication, or commitment from a Bumble profile? From the view of his knees down? From his smell in the dark? Can you tell how he's going to treat you when your mother's in the hospital? You can't tell shit. So,
well, we've got a friend that she wrote on her, well, she said in her profile that if he was bald or had tattoos, it was a no-go. And yet
I can't help what I'm attracted to.
Yeah, I can't help that. And yet I look at men who are bald and have tattoos, and some of them are the most extraordinary humans on the planet. Is that limiting you when you put up a protocol?
Well, I would not put that in one's profile. I would never put what you don't want. It's just negative. You could be attracted to what you're attracted to. You could have preferences, but I usually encourage people to screen in rather than screen out. And so screening in means taking the chance on possibility. That's a difference than if something's like a really hard no. If you are, again, I'm in America. If you're a big Trump person and you need to be with someone who has that very specific worldview and everybody else is toxic to you, well, then fine, stay in that worldview. I think it's limiting, but that's a choice. If you're someone who's, central desire is a healthy lifestyle and you don't want to be with a guy who's a smoker or a drug user, that's fine. There's a million people out there. We're talking about things that are a little bit more flexible, right? What's the difference between a guy who is 5'9" and 5'10"? Negligible, but people set arbitrary height things. What's the difference between a guy who makes $90,000 and $120,000? It's negligible. This is not what sinks a relationship. Has anybody here ever met a man who didn't go to university but is really bright? Yes. So when people say it, he needs to have gone to university because I went to university and I've gone out with guys with high school educations and they can't keep up with me. This is part of the story. So in real life, remember before online dating, real life, you meet someone and you wouldn't have their whole resume. And you might be sitting next to him at a party and you didn't know when he got up that he was only 5'9". And you didn't know whether he went to university. And he certainly didn't tell you how much money he made when he was making you laugh for 3 hours at the party. And so we need to say, it's great to have all this information, but when we're using this information to try to determine compatibility, it's going to fail. Because compatibility is determined by how he treats you over time, right? And the problem with online dating is that we think we could dial in what we're looking for, but what we're really dialing in is what we're most attracted to. And what we're most attracted to is the male version of you, but better. He's taller and cuter and richer and smarter and funnier, and he doesn't have any of your flaws. That's what you're looking for. And that's universal. And so if that is what's getting in our way, we need a different way of doing it. And I promise you, none of this results in settling. This results in happiness. If you go to my website, you'll see hundreds of wedding photos. These are all women who dated online. These are all women who trusted that what I was telling them was true. But left to their own devices, they were not having success because we can't help ourselves. We just can't help it. And I wouldn't go to Mount Everest and go by myself. I'd probably hire a Sherpa. There might be great signage telling you how to get there, but sometimes someone's done it before and they could do it better and make it a much smoother path. And for someone who's been spinning around and spinning around and spinning around for decades, wondering, why is this so hard? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with men? What's wrong with Melbourne? Whatever story they have. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with men. There's nothing wrong with Melbourne. You're not too old. You're not too fat. All that negative self-talk is not leading you anywhere. You don't have a GPS. And it's not your fault. You're good at something else. That's what you do for a living. I would hire you to do your thing.
I love this. I didn't know that there was a protocol, we do have friends that have either not done well in their marriage and left the marriage, or never found anybody. In actual fact, I can go through my family, and I have a sister-in-law, I have a stepdaughter. Now these are all above 50. I have a my sister, and I just I watched them. I watched them, and I realize now coaching is what is needed. You know, there's business coaches, there's health coaches, there's every coach around. Like there's
I've had
relationship
coaches.
coaches. Yeah. And why not a coach to help you? And it's so funny. Like I'm telling you about this manifesting tour. I went to Japan. I took the manifesting tour.
Mhm.
And there are 10 steps to it. One of the steps is action. And what are the actions you're going to take? But now I'm going to put you as the action on a couple of them. Because I never thought you must date once a week. Like one of our friends, in 4 years, she's had 2 dates.
Very hard to find love in 2 dates.
Yeah. Two
And
people
again,
she's gone out with.
I don't judge. I don't blame if anybody who's listening is thinking, oh, this guy sounds, really condescending. No, it's the deepest sympathy. This is the person, and I always go back to the metaphor, right, of losing weight, because so many people struggle with their weight and their health. So if you've been struggling with your weight and your health, everybody's tried a diet, quit the diet, gone to the gym, went for 3 solid weeks, stopped going, right? And finding some measure of consistency where you can build healthier practices into your life. So it's not just a thing you're doing temporarily, but it's a way of being. There's a way of dating, which makes it like eating and sleeping and showering and meditation. And if you can integrate dating into your life where it's not this desperate husband hunt, but rather, hey, I'm going to put a little time every day into going online and checking out my options, saying no to 90% of guys, and then saying maybe to 10% of them. And you're not promising to date any of them, kiss any of them, sleep with any of them, or marry them. I'm just going to talk with a small percentage of men who seem okay. And I'll have a system guiding me through how to do that, so that if I'm talking to 7 to 10 guys at any given time online, one of them turns out to be a decent guy. He takes me out to dinner on Friday night. There's a 50% chance that I'm going to like him. There's a 50% chance he'll like me. Great. Now we have a 25% chance of a good date. So if you go on 1 date a week, my methodology, I can get you 1 good date a month. And that's 12 lottery tickets with decent guys that you chose, who are relationship oriented, who earn the right to take you out. That is far better than waiting for love or manifestation or prayer to hand you someone. And so it's anything. You could have all the positive intentions in the world, and I think they're good. People like positive people. People want to date positive people. People want to work with positive people. Without an action plan, it doesn't get you anywhere.
And that's with anything. You need an action plan. Yeah.
So one thing I'm curious to know, like our generation is a little bit more, if we don't like it, we let it go. If we don't want it, whereas our grandmothers and grandfathers, you made your bed, you laid in it. So what's your thoughts around being in a relationship where you're not 100% happy, or is it the fact that you haven't put work into the relationship to make you happy?
I love this. Thank you for the thoughtful and challenging question. There's a really interesting book called The All or Nothing Marriage by Eli Finkel. I've had him on my podcast once upon a time, and he's a researcher. He's not a psychologist. He's not a dating coach. He's a researcher talking about the history of marriage. And the nature of marriage, per your question, has changed over the years. It used to be, hey, we're going to have 9 kids, and they're going to till the fields, and 3 of them are going to die, and they're going to maybe take care of us when we're older. And then we get into the 20th century, and it's less about that, and it's more about a self-sacrificial marriage. We're going to manual labor. We're going to make enough money to maybe build a house and raise our kids and get those kids an education. And we might not love each other, but we'll stay together for 50 years. And that was, first half of the 20th century. Then we moved into love-based marriages, right? But the women were not equal to the men. They did not have educations. They did not have their own money. It's our parents' generation. and they stuck it out, but they didn't have too many choices. So 1970s post second wave feminism opened up a whole new world where women are now educated, don't need men to support them, right? Big divorce boom in the late 70s. Divorce peaked in 1980. It's not the highest it's ever been. It's been going down and down and down. So we're actually at a better place, which is where we get to the concept of the all or nothing marriage. Marriages are better now than they've ever been before, right? Because we've got closer to equality than we've ever had before. What I advocate for is not more marriage, it's better marriage. So my job is not as a couples counselor to teach two people who've been together for 30 years and wanted to break up 20 years ago to stay together. That is not my mandate on this earth. My mandate is to get single women, divorced women, widowed women into healthy marriages that they don't even think of wanting to get divorced, making better choices, right? Instead of I'm 50% in, I'm 50% out. I want everybody's marriage to be as happy as my marriage, where it would never occur to me that I could do better or I could be happier. And if I could help people make good individual choices, now marriage becomes bulletproof, because I can only work on a micro level. I can't work on a societal level. I can't wave a magic wand over all the unhappy couples who want to divorce but don't have the courage. But I can help women who've been divorced before and are afraid of making a commitment be really, really confident in their decisions so that when they do make that choice, they could feel secure that they're going to have a partner who's going to be by them till the day they die.
And are you
I don't know if I answered your question.
The other, the marriage, they're still happening today, are marriages that because the parents pick the partner for you. And some of them work and some of them don't. So there's those types of marriages, and there's polygamous marriages that work. I've seen them work. Do you want to just explore those types of, they're still happening, aren't they?
Well, everything happens. This is a vast, vast world. And so if the picture I'm painting of traditional heterosexual monogamy doesn't work for you, by all means, go carve your own path. That's a perfectly viable choice. However, I can't be an expert in Indian arranged marriage and thruples and polyamory and polycules. To each your own. For people who long for the thing that is traditional, that seems to be harder and harder to find and scarcer these days, right? Because indeed, most marriages aren't happy. I'm not a blind marriage advocate. I'm a happy marriage advocate. So if college-educated people over the age of 30 choose to get married, there's only a 20% divorce rate, right? The divorce rate's not high when you're educated, have life experience, financially secure. Divorce rate is actually relatively low. The problem is most marriages aren't necessarily happy because they married someone out of inertia, fear, need, desperation, wanting to have kids, not really paying attention to their feelings and what they deserve to have in a relationship. They were chasing height, chemistry, money, and they didn't pay attention to safe, heard, and understood. So on my little micro level, I could work with individuals who say, all of this really resonates with me. I just want to find one man to love me unconditionally. Can that happen? The answer is an unequivocal yes.
But I'm just thinking with your 90% of men aren't available for that.
They are available for that. They're bad choices. The same way that if you were hiring for the CEO of your company, remember, women are the CEOs here. You got one hire to make for the rest of your life. How many people off the street would you want to run your company? It doesn't mean they're bad people.
Yeah.
We're not saying anything negative about anybody.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really bright guys who are in their head, socially awkward, borderline autistic, and difficult because relationships involve emotions. There's plenty of rich guys who are married to their work and are not available to be good partners. There's plenty of cute guys who are narcissistic because women throw themselves at them and they don't see the need to settle down with one person. There's lots of guys who are fool's gold, who are tempting, who are looking to find someone who fits all of those pieces and the emotional component. And if that has been a struggle, it's not that these men don't exist. It's that we're likely to settle for the first cute guy who comes along, the first rich guy who comes along, the first guy who gives you good sex in 10 years. And you'll anchor to that and hold on tight until it blows up. That's what most people do, unfortunately.
Let's go back to the Indian version you were talking. You just briefly touched on it because this has always intrigued me. It's almost like parents of Indian children are the dating guy. They're you. The culture, right? Like
Right.
they pick it according to your astrological chart, the letter that your name begins with. They do a lot of research on prospective partners for their children. And even
And they're
when I was
completely unqualified for that job as well.
right, but when I was in India, and we've spent a bit of time there, I'll never forget the first young woman I met who was about to get married. And I said, "Oh, you must be so excited. What's he like?" And she goes, "I don't know. I've never met him." And I was horrified. And the look on my face was like, "You poor thing."
Right.
And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, that must be awful." And she goes, "No, my parents have chosen well. It is an incredible thing." And in many of their beliefs and philosophy, again, I'm generalizing, you fall in love. You learn to love one another.
Great.
Is that not a good thing?
Also not a good thing, but but what you do really, really well, and I want to compliment you, right? You look at things through different lenses. The problem is no one of those lenses is going to provide the answer. So there's a book called First Comes Marriage by Reva Seth, which extols the virtues of arranged marriage. So if we take just those two lenses, the Western and the Eastern is find a person from a good family who believes in marriage, who has a decent education and a decent job. The problem with that is too great to mention because you're literally being handed to someone and being told, make it work. I would never consent to that. I don't care if the whole billion-person society rests on that. I don't agree with the model at all. But what they are is less individual-based, right? Western is all individualistic. Eastern is family-based. China, India, very much about pleasing the parents, right? And it's not that parents have no wisdom. It's that they're not all dating and relationship coaches. So these people don't expect anything from chemistry. Here's your husband. You'll find a way to want to sleep with him. Good luck. I don't like that. But their expectations are lower because they're not expecting the butterflies. Here, it's all butterflies. And if he treats me nice, well, that's a bonus. If he wants to get married, that would be cool too. But you know what? He doesn't need to get married. I don't need to get married. I'm fine just being his once a week girl. So we need to take both of those things. We talk about the modalities, the multiple lenses. We want to say chemistry matters because there's only one person you're going to sleep with for the rest of your life, and you have eyes, right? So chemistry matters. But if we make chemistry the primary thing, we often lose touch with our values. And if we just do a values-based relationship and we don't pay attention to chemistry, that could be a really long marriage too. And dating sites fall prey to this as well. eHarmony, big American dating site, makes you fill out a 436-question personality test, but they don't allow you to look for someone by photo. That's the Indian version of it. Go on Tinder or Bumble or Hinge. It's just faces. It's just faces. There's no substance to it. We don't even have written profiles like we did on Match anymore. So we've gone further and further extreme. And all I'm doing is saying, okay, you people have a point. You people have a point. Let's find something that actually works long term instead of thinking one of these gimmicky things is going to work. Swiping right on a face, having your parents set you up, going on a dating site and thinking that you could figure out who your soulmate is based on a poorly written profile, or one date and thinking you've met your soulmate. All of these are stories that people tell. This is a long process. I tell all my clients you shouldn't sleep with a guy or call him your boyfriend for 4 to 6 weeks. You shouldn't get engaged for close to 2 years. Why? Shit goes wrong. And you better figure that out before rather than after you're married.
Agreed.
That's hard. It takes discipline. It takes patience. And most people, can you just hand me someone? I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's almost like if we get into that horrible viewpoint of seeing all our friends married or happy or in relationships or having lots of sex, it's like I've been left behind. There was one thing I wanted to check in with you. You talked at the very beginning about what we've been role modeled, looking at our parents and what they did and how they lived, without even knowing that they were the right compass point or North Star to follow. Ultimately, though, we can't hide a bad relationship. And just like you can't really hide a good relationship, it is kind of hit and miss with what we were born into. But
Right.
one thing I would say is my mum and dad, they fought like you wouldn't believe. I mean, they got together. Mum was 16 when she fell pregnant. Dad was nearly 20. They married, they had 3 kids, and by the time I was 9, they'd divorced. And the day they told me they were separating at 9 years of age was the happiest day of my life. And I swore I'd never have a relationship like that.
Okay.
And to my credit, I've had an amazing marriage, but I also wasn't going to sacrifice myself. I look back on it now, Evan, and I had certain beliefs and morals and values. Be the woman that you would love to have in your life and marry. In other words, don't sleep with him on the first date. I know this is going to be a bit crass, but my beautiful mother-in-law always says, and you're going to love this, vaginas rule. The sooner women realize that vaginas rule, the better off they're going to be. Now, I don't know how, it just made us laugh. But at the end of the day, we are the ones that allow men to be a part of us. We are the ones that can guide that. And again, generally speaking, but are you saying if you have a high level of self-worth, do work on yourself, constantly look to grow and learn and be the best version of you, you're probably going to have more chances of attracting the best version of your male counterpart?
Certainly. I don't think anybody could argue with it. I'm really glad you stated that. I think this is another example of both and. I work with women who've spent a whole lifetime working on themselves. They've gone into therapy and they've gone through their childhood trauma and they've put in time with the personal trainer and the dietitian and they've done deep soul work and shadow work. They've read every book under the sun and they still don't have a partner. So one can spend their whole life and make it their life's work for self-improvement, and it still doesn't matter if you never go on any dates. So both and, always both and. If you think you've got one solution, broaden your lens, look a little further. Is the problem men? Well, there are many men who are not capable of being your partner. Do you really think that the only good people left on earth are women? That doesn't really wash logically. So there has to be some quality men out there. Why aren't I meeting them? Well, now we have a good question. Are you not dating? That's one way of not meeting them. Are you attracted to the wrong kind of guys? Are you attracted to emotionally unavailable men? And choose guys who are out of town. Choose guys who work 60 hours a week. Choose guys whose dynamic is, I want to be powerful and I need you to serve me. I'm the sun, your planet revolving around me. Because those women will have a story about men, but it's not a story about men. It's a story about the men that they're attracted to and the men they choose. It says nothing about all the other men in the world that they're not choosing. So my wife was divorced before she met me. She'd been cheated on by 4 straight men. What does that say about men? Nothing. It says my wife has a weakness for charismatic men. Right? And it never occurred to her that she was choosing a certain type of guy over and over, and that those 4 men were a small subset of all men. And so that's why I go back to that food metaphor. If you like steak and ice cream, you could always find it, and it tastes great. If it's making you sick, you need to shop in a different aisle, and you didn't even know there's healthy food in the store. You never even looked for it before. And that's most women. Their story is, I attract the wrong men like you're a magnet. No, 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 you're not a magnet. You're attracted to the wrong men. And then even after you realize they're the wrong men, you double down on them and you try to fix them and you try to make it work. So we don't try to fix men at all. Fire, fire, fire. Or do you feel safe? Are you anxious? Is this feel like work? Is your relationship draining you? If so, better to be alone You just can't stay in a relationship where you are a second-class citizen. And so many women, under the idea of love conquers all, and try to fix men and make things work when they should really just let them go and go back to the drawing board. And going back to the drawing board is not giving up on love indefinitely. It means taking a short breather from dating and going back to your routine and meeting one new guy a week until you find a guy better, and changing your choice of men instead of dating the same guy in a different body and wondering why it never works.
I wrote a book that I don't remember the name of it, but it was about people who had done 10,000 hours and made themselves an expert.
Outliers.
The outliers, that's right. I'd say that's you. I don't think I've ever heard anyone speak with such authority and knowledge and education and obviously experience on the matter. I didn't even know this existed. That's yeah. So I'm.
Well, you're not really in the market, love.
No, I'm not. But I have friends. A family.
Here's our next point then, gorgeous Evan. What do you do? And what about for the women in Australia and New Zealand? Are you available for all of us too?
I've had a great track record with people all over the world. The last 4 clients I got, one was from Costa Rica, one's from Scotland, one's from England, one is from Amsterdam. I've got a favorite client of mine. I've got a number of clients who've been successful and are married in Australia. One of them actually came out to visit me with her husband, and she stayed with another graduate of my course and her husband while she was visiting Los Angeles. And I brought my kids down to meet her. She's based in Sydney. And so the only thing that I can't do is help people who don't speak English. I'm unfortunately just another stupid American who only speaks one language. But if you speak English and you're open to support, I have both free resources and paid coaching for you. Is this the end of our session? Should I tell people about the free gift I have for everybody, or?
Well, yes, let's do that. But before we do that, so you do private coaching as well as group coaching, is that right?
Yeah. My signature program is called Love You. If you go to my website or you look up Love You, you could see it's designed to be a comprehensive course where you don't need to take another course. There's a million courses out there. This is supposed to be a one-stop shop that walks women through every facet of dating and relationships, but doesn't drown you in too much material. So it's doled out in small doses, half hour per week. Month 1 is on confidence, then meeting men, dating, understanding men, relationships, and commitment. So the course is audio, video, transcript, exercise. It's a class. And then for people who want to get the most out of it, to be able to ask questions and be part of a community of other women who are going through the course, I offer both group and private coaching by application only. And so all of this is available in free information. My Instagram, my podcast, my mailing list, and plenty of free information to see if this resonates with you and it's right for you before you do any signing up for anything.
Tell us your Instagram handles and social media platform, just in case someone's driving and it just sparks something for them for when they get home.
My name is Evan Mark Katz, EvanMarckKatz. I'm very Googleable at evanmarkkatz.com. My Instagram is real Evan Mark Katz. My Facebook is Facebook.com/Evan Mark Katz fan. My podcast is the Love You Podcast. And
that's you with a U, not the YOU.
Love University.
Yeah.
The Love You Podcast. You could probably just Google Evan Mark Katz podcast and get there too. But my point is, if you find this conversation intriguing, if you identify as a smart woman who has everything but has struggled to find a partner who loves you and appreciates you and is sticking by you, if you long for more than you have and are single but don't want to be, there's no shame in that. I think it's really important to say that out loud. A lot of people have talked themselves into, there's no good men. The only thing I can count on are my kids and my friends and my dogs. And if you close your eyes and imagine the next 30 years of your life, would you rather be in love or would you rather be alone?
But I think even many people are afraid of being in love for fear of being hurt.
That is
more
correct.
Than they feel the need or the desire to love.
Perfect. So I'm so glad you went there. You're really good at this. You lead me to where I want to go. So I want to give you credit for that. I know this is an audio podcast more than a video, but I always do all of these hand gestures. So imagine 3 or 4 states of being. The bottom state of being is unhappily alone or unhappily married. The point is you're unhappy. And if you're in an unhappy marriage, that's torture. And if you're really unhappy being alone, that's torture too. So someone gets out of the unhappy marriage, right? The relationship where she didn't feel seen, where she was verbally abused, where she was neglected, didn't feel beautiful, right? And she leaves that. And she's had a series of those. And she's like, whew, I'm finally alone. I could be myself. I could cultivate my life. I could hang out with only people who love me, right? And you do. And now your happiness has gone up a step. You've gone from unhappily married to happily single. And it's wonderful. It's so much better than the former, right? So now imagine, and it doesn't take much of an imagination, being in a happy relationship. Now, most people haven't had happy relationships. That's why they're afraid of relationships. But if I were God, and I'm not, and I were to come down upon you and say, I'm going to hand you someone to love you unconditionally till death do you part, age 90, and you'll be that little old couple walking in the park and you'll be buried next to each other. Do you accept my offer to have a man love you unconditionally for the rest of your life? Nobody says no. So what people are anchoring against is, would I rather be happily single or in a miserable relationship? What they're forgetting is the possibility of a happy relationship. It's like it doesn't even exist. Why? Because you've gone 50, 60 years without it, so you think it doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist the way you've been going about it, with the choices you've been making, with your biases, your blind spots. But does it exist? Well, talk to a handful of happily married people. Happily married people are the happiest people of all, according to every study everywhere. So it's not whether you can have it, it's whether you're going to choose to stay at this level, which is like choosing to stay at, would I rather make $50,000 or make $200,000? You could say, I'd rather make $50,000 and be unemployed. Or you could say, why shouldn't I get a master's degree and hire an assistant and own the company and make more? These are all choices that are available to you. So you do not need to be stuck in miserable relationships. There is a path, but it takes a certain amount of bravery to realize you could break your patterns over the decades and have the kind of relationship that your friends have because they're no better than you.
I'm so loving this. I know Cyndi and I are just going to be talking about this forever. But one
all
thing,
our friends.
yeah, we're going to become the experts on guiding them to you. But here's the thing. I've asked many couples myself, or not couples, individuals, single people.
Sure.
One of their famous lines is, I don't need a man. I don't need a relationship. I'm happy on my own. Until I say, if the beautiful man entered your life that loved you unconditionally and saw you as his world, would you be open to that? And then they go, well, yeah. So my question was always, why would you limit yourself from a possibility? Because you are already setting self-sabotaging, limiting beliefs that it's not going to happen. At least be open to the possibility. Is that what your course and your programs and your podcast and blogs, it gives people hope? Is that a really fair estimate?
Yeah, I'm not a blind optimist. I'm a realist. That's the crazy part. When people who have been burned by dating relationships and men, their version of it is, no, I'm the realist. Evan, you don't understand the state of men these days. Men suck. They're just looking for sex. They don't care about women's opinions. They don't respect our bodily autonomy. They're incapable of the sensitivity that it takes to be a good partner. I would rather just hang out with my girlfriends because at least I know they're not going to hurt me. And that is an argument. It just caps you at where you are right now. And so usually what gets people to hire me is that they have a moment of awakening, right? Not something that I did. This is something that happens in their life. She turns 50. She turns 60. Her father dies and she's orphaned. She goes through a health scare. She meets a man, has a fling. It awakens something in her. She's the only person in a sea of happy couples at a New Year's Eve thing and wonders why she doesn't have it. Some catalyst happens in her life that reminds her, life is better when it's shared. Yes, I can go to Spain alone. Yes, I can read a book and watch TV. Yes, I can go on that hike. I can do everything alone, but do I want to? And so you have a choice. There's nothing wrong. There's no judgment on being single. And if you choose to be single for the rest of your life, that's perfectly viable as long as you're content with it. I think there's a lot of people who are talking themselves into being content, as you said, right? And all I'm saying is there is a path, there is a ladder, there is a process that can get you from point A to point B, the same way there is for everything in the universe. It's not a mystery. My air conditioning went out. It's 100 degrees in LA right now. Fahrenheit. Sorry, we're Americans. It's 100 degrees here, right? It's boiling and our air conditioning went out. Could I go on YouTube and try to figure it out myself? Probably. I'm going to hire a specialist because specialists, that's what they're paid for. If they're highly paid, I believe they're going to do it even better, right? Because they can command that. So I think a lot of people are just afraid to take a step. The nice thing about folks like me is I'm not making you do anything. I will give you free advice until I've been doing it for 20 years. I have people on my mailing list that I could see they're on my mailing list for 1,670 days. It's over 5-10 years. And they haven't done a thing and they're learning, but they don't have the courage to take the step. So I will give you free advice, the kind that you heard here on today's podcast. I'd be honored to give you some sense of power and control and optimism. And if you could do it yourself, then that's wonderful. And if you decide enough is enough, I'm sick of being the only single person and telling myself I'm happy being alone. I could squint and convince myself that that's true, but deep in my heart, I know I'd rather have someone who loves me and takes care of me. Do you have someone who's taking care of you, both of you? A man in your life who's taking care of you?
Love it.
Right?
I feel very treasured.
I have a wife who takes care of me. I am beautifully codependent on her. I could not imagine my life without her. Am I a whole human being without her? Sure, I survived 35 years without her, but the past 20 have been the best.
Just to finish before Cyndi summarizes today, but my beautiful mother-in-law, another soul who decided in 7 years into the marriage that it wasn't the right one. And something about, there's 2 points I want to make here. If we want better men in the world, I'm going to ask women to step up and be better mothers and be better role models to what it looks like to have and be a good woman, that they can find the right one. She's been amazing. And secondly, she met a man at 17, 18. They had a beautiful love affair for a couple of years. He was a year older. He went off to the police force. They separated. And here they are at 78 and 79. They've recreated the photo of when they were 17 and 18. I'm going to send it to you, Evan. It is the cutest freaking photo you've ever seen in your life. And they are so besotted. And it's like these little souls have reconnected. So my point is, before Cyndi comes in, women, be the best role model you can be to these beautiful men out there so they know what to be and how to be. And secondly, never, ever give up on love.
I love that. I want to give you like a big old hug because you said the one thing I can't say. It's not my place to tell women what's wrong with them. They can't hear that from me. I will validate your claims that most men are not right for you, right? So my course is about fixing your dating methodology and choosing healthier partners. That's what we can control. I can't control what kind of woman you are in the world. I would look to women role models for that.
And Evan, I heard you say that you have something for our listeners.
I do. It's a special report. It's like just a 25-page PDF that I created. It's going to be more pertinent to people who are dating than people who aren't, but I definitely think it's an eye-opener. If you go to evanmarckatz.com, EvanMarkKatz.com/chat, based on the name of your podcast, /chat, you can get the 7 massive mistakes you're making in dating and learn a little something about something that you're probably doing or have probably done that you didn't even realize was getting in your own way, some minor form of self-sabotage. You'll be on my mailing list, and I will continue to send you free advice a couple times a week. And if you're ever ready for support, I'm here for you. And if not, I'm glad to have made your acquaintance and so glad that we met through Cyndi and Kim.
Yeah, Evan, it's just been an eye-opener for me, and from the bottom of my heart and Kim's, I want to thank you for the hour that we've just spent together, because I've learned a lot. I think have a bit of information out there, and we've interviewed over 400 people, so you would think we'd know something, but this is something that is very new, refreshing, and as Kim put it, there's hope. And yep, I'll be spreading your word to some friends. That's what I'll be doing.
I'm grateful. It's just so nice to meet people who have such a reputation, who've so much experience making change in the world, living your best life, leading by example, with joy and optimism. I think you guys are, one of the best interviews I've ever had a chance to be a part of. So thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's been such a treat.
Feel, doesn't he?
He should be in dating. He's amazing.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Give our love to your beautiful wife. Tell her we're glad she kissed 4 toads before she met her beautiful, handsome prince. We honor your 2 children for the role modeling that you 2 are offering. And of course, through all the work that you bestow on this planet, we just say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was great. Sincerely.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.